during, that's where he was sleeping. And I was working at, that's where he was sleeping. And I was working at a factory as an inspector. She had this black raven hair, and these dark hair, and these dark, beautiful eyes. And it was Pat. And my brother had been laying on the couch and sat right up, and he was smitten right then and there, and he fell hard for her. I think, what was it, about 3 months, and they were married. And I had never seen him except for his very first girlfriend, who ended up being his wife. But he fell for that. And at 4, he started a new family with Sean and Megan. And that he was the oldest of 7 of us. And he liked to say, I was a rose surrounded by 6 thorns. And I'd like to go back a ways to where all this started, and that was with our papa, who was also Joe Carrico. And when we were real young, living in a 2-bedroom house with 7 children. Joe had his own room in the garage, but 6 of us slept in the same room. And but you know what? As poor as my parents were at that time, we never once went hungry, and we always had a roof over our head. Both my parents grew up during the Great Depression, and both of them came from poor families. And my mother used to say, I don't think camping is a vacation. I grew up during the Great Depression, and there were times in her life where she didn't have a roof over her head. And anyway, he was a mean little shit when he was a kid, you know. He was the only one in my mother's life because Papa was out in Normandy, and he fought in Normandy and the Battle of the Bulge. And he was a gunner, and he wouldn't talk. If you asked him a question about it, he would say something, you know, but he wouldn't talk about it. I learned a lot about my father after he died from his youngest sister, who was the only living Carrico at the time. And we got real close when in my late teens and his 20s, because Carricos have a lot of great traits. I see a lot of great people out there. But there's also some traits of Carrico that are difficult, and that's a temper and addictions. And me and Joe had both of them. And so, but we did come close, and we did a lot of partying together. And the first song that was playing on when the photo started, I had gone to many concerts, but he had never gone to a concert. And so we went and saw Pink Floyd, The Wall. And actually the whole thing is about World War II, and the band had come from England, and where they were bombed every night. And a gigantic plane flies through the auditorium, and I had given him a little thing that he had never taken before, and made everything brighter and the music better. And it was incredible. I've been to a lot of concerts, but I've never seen anything like that. You know, a big old toy plane flies through the audience, and about 40 to 50 feet high puppets that walked across the stage. But when they talk about the wall, they're talking about the father that's killed, that he was a pilot in the plane, and then a mother that was very domineering and taught him to trust no woman, and women were all bad, and then, you know, they talk about the puppet that was a teacher that he really didn't like. But anyway, as the band goes on, they're building the wall. And the wall is when we freeze and we take medications or alcohol to help us build that wall. Nothing's gonna hurt us because we're numbed out, like one of the song talks about, I'm comfortably numb. But when you stop taking drugs or alcohol, then all those feelings come, and then you gotta deal with them. You gotta deal with the things that you buried. And right around the time Joe was really going down, I had taken a really bad fall, and I pretty much shattered my pelvis and my femur, and I was in the hospital for a week, and then a rehab for 2 weeks, and you know, connecting with Joe, and I had learned that he wasn't going to have any more surgeries, and I was really glad about that, because he had done great suffering, and I didn't want him to have any more surgeries, but I also knew he'd never walk again. But I could accept that because I still had my brother. When my little sister and myself and my only remaining brother had gone to see him a couple weeks ago, and I think I had built that when I learned that he was on hospice, and I'm an old hospice nurse. I know what that means, and I know his life is going to be very short. And I walked into that room, and I saw him in that bed, and I lost it, you know, I just wanted to crawl into that bed, and it was like, you can't take him, God, you can't take me. You took my mom and you took my papa. And you took 3 of my siblings, but you can't have him. But we know he all passed. And when a great person leaves us, they take a part of our soul with them, and it never comes back. You can't replace it. Nothing will ever replace it. And I guess I say in the beginning, you know, we had a father that had, I remember my father saying, he was strict. If you break our rules, you're gonna get your butt kicked. And if you lie about it, you're really gonna get your butt kicked. So it taught us, you know, to be honest. Sometimes I can be brutally honest. Don't ask me a question you don't want the truth to. He taught us that you get up every day and you go to work every day, and you don't call in and you put 12 hours of work in an 8-hour day. My little sister, she worked one place for 20 years and another for 7 years and missed one day of work. Now I can't say that about myself because I did miss work. Not a lot of work, but I did it. I mean, I can't say in 27 years I missed one day of work, you know. But I did work hard. You know, I did put the 12 hours into the 8-hour shift. And, you know, it was all started with our papa. You know, all strict, but he gave us some, you know, really good things to live by in our lives. And I'm very, very, very grateful to all my family. Kathy and Kim have made so much of this possible. And they're all over the place. It's this guy here. Anyway, thank you for listening to me. And
Hello. Sorry about the really long slideshow, but hope everybody enjoyed it. My name is Kim. I'm Ronnie's niece. My mom's right there, Debbie. So I just wrote a little thing I want to say and then a poem at the end. Uncle Ronnie, I never heard him say more than a few words at a time. He would call to say happy birthday, happy Thanksgiving, and Merry Christmas, but wouldn't say a whole lot more than that. It became my husband Patrick's goal to keep him on the phone more than 5 minutes. And one time, I think he surpassed that goal of almost a 10-minute phone call. My husband can talk. He may have kept his calls short, but you always knew he was calling because he cared. Last year, I didn't get any of his phone calls, and that's when I began to worry about his health. I will miss those calls now, even if they were too early in the morning for me. So I've probably known for most of my life that AA was a big part of my Uncle Ronnie's life, but it wasn't until he passed away that I could say I understood why. After he died, Sean shared a recording he made in AA. That is the most I've ever heard my uncle speak at one time, and it was after he passed away. I learned AA wasn't just a part of his life, it was what saved him. And without it, I may have never known my uncle. My dad used to say he couldn't believe my uncle was clean and that he was really proud of him. I always thought maybe he was exaggerating, but then I heard Uncle Ronnie say on the recording that he was an alcoholic from the time he was 12 years old until he was 37. And he was told he'd never live to see 40, but he thought, who'd want to live that long? Then, when everything was falling apart for him, he prayed, God, please relieve me of my obsession with alcohol. He remembered that prayer 42 years later because he said his prayer was answered immediately. It was a Saturday and he was in the hospital. Half an hour after that prayer, he called his wife, and that is the time when call waiting existed. And on the other line was his daughter, whom he told he'd never lay eyes on again. So he said, God answers prayers. Maybe because of the mistakes he made early in life is what led him to try harder later on. We have a huge family. Ronald Joseph Carrico, or Joe, or Ronnie, as family knew him, was the eldest of 7 children. He was born during World War II, so my grandfather Joe was not there in the early years of Uncle Ronnie's life. It is clear to me from all the old photos my grandma Trudy took that he was the apple of her eye. It looked like he was a mama's boy, which I think is a great thing because my grandma was the best person I have ever known. And so was my grandpa. It was from their values that I know my Uncle Ronnie modeled much of what he did later in life. To always be there for family in their time of need and to never turn your back on someone you can help. He was always at family events, even if they were always in another state other than Kansas. He was there for good times like Christmas, weddings, and birthdays, like my Grandpa Joe's 80th birthday, but also during hard times, like when his sisters Lori and then Connie passed away. And before that, his brother Ben, and even his daughter Tracy. Only 3 of the original 7 siblings are left. So now, more than ever, family needs to come together and support each other and maybe even forgive one another for mistakes that were made. Because nobody is perfect. And we only have one life to live. So say I love you more, because you never know when it will be the last time. Uncle Ronnie kept it short and sweet, as he always did, and just said I love you back to me the last time I saw him. I love you, Uncle Ronnie, and I hope you gave Grandma and Grandpa a kiss for me. Love, Kimmy Canute, Slip 'em Down Not. And then I just have a poem I'd like to read because when my Uncle Ben died, we were going to do a memorial, and it was Christmas time when we all gathered and we didn't really do anything. And I was going to read this poem. It's called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love, and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never had before. If we treat each other with respect or often wear a smile, remembering that this little dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, when your life's actions to rehash, Would you be proud of the little things they say about you? How you live your dash? Thank you.
My name's Carrico. He was my grandpa, and I don't really know what to talk about, but I just know how we used to be bad little kids and we would like spank us and stuff, right? And like how we would play little games like spy on their parents or whatever, and we would like be screaming and stuff, and we would run to the basement and he would like try to chase us.
Oh man, if they went in front of the TV,
And he had it up all the way. It was like blasting my house. But we had fun those times, and I don't love him with my heart or my brain because those don't last forever. I love him with my soul because that lasts forever. But he'll always be a big part of my life because he made my childhood like happy. Like I was a happy little girl, and now he's gone. So like no matter what, if he was hurt or something, he would always make it like good times. I mean, he would yell at us and tell me to massage his feet a lot. But yeah, I'm done. It's gotta go.
Come on, son. Look, Mom.
My name's Skyler, and he was like a big part of our lives. He took us in his house whenever we moved out of our blue house. I remember every Christmas whenever he got those buckets, and we used to use them as drums and stuff. And whenever he filled our presents, filled our stockings. I remember one time we were spying on them, and I threw a frozen chicken nugget. And I was gonna walk through the hallway to spy on Papa, and he's standing there in the front saying, "What are you doing?" And chased me down to the basement, and I was hiding in a closet, and he took me, he put me in a corner, and I was stuck there for the rest of the day. He used to go to work, he picked me all the way up each time after work in his van and took us to his friends. He would talk with his friends and take us home. I miss him, and I will never be the same because he loved us and after that, she never really wanted to say I love you too. And good night and sleep in bed.
My name is Carrico. I'm his granddaughter. I miss him very much. He was one of the biggest people in my life, and he was a really great papa. I remember when I used to take naps with him, and whenever I would like sit on his lap when he sat in his chair, I remember watching TV with him, and then he would kick me out when the TV got inappropriate. But I spent a lot of time with him whenever we lived with him. Christmases were definitely the best times. He would wake us up with loud music, Christmas music. I'm sure Mom would have got Christmas music. I miss him a lot, and I would do anything for one last hug, one last word with him. I wish that I would have like spent more time with him, and wish I could have been there for him more. I don't really remember the nickname he used to call me. I'm pretty sure it was Maya Mia, something like that. He would call me all sorts of stuff. I just love him a lot, and I really, yeah. I don't really know what to say because I didn't like make anything up. So, I love him very much, and I miss him more than anything. Yeah.
And all we're bleeding to go for Grandpa.
Yeah. I just like wearing jewelry. I guess that's something I get from him too. I have one of his bracelets that he passed down to my dad, and then my dad passed it down to me, and then got it resized so it could fit me. It was in the very last photo actually from the slideshow. I'm probably never gonna take this off unless I'm showering, so I don't wanna ruin it. But I'm gonna have something of him with me all the time, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I'll have him with me, and he's always gonna be with me. He's in my heart, my soul, everything. I can't wait someday whenever my time comes to join him up there and be able to join all our other loved ones.
Yes.
Long
time, but I still can't wait anyways. I can't wait to see everyone that we've lost and all my loved ones and animals and stuff. That's all.
Alright, so one thing about Joe, father-in-law for 15 years, okay? This man, everybody says that he is a man of very few words. I never had a problem with a conversation with him, but it was still always a sentence or maybe a paragraph, and then next day it would be a sentence or a paragraph. But every single time I walked by that man, dad jokes. Lord have mercy, dad jokes. And most of them, I would have to try and figure out how to come up with a good enough laugh for him to accept it and let me work. But it's great memories, and I love it. And I love the fact that we have that relationship. I owe a lot in my life to this woman and that man.
I forgot to say some stuff. He also called me Blondie. And I think he called me something else, but I forgot. But he would always say how he needed a hug and a Blondie or a kiss on the cheek. He's always getting kisses on the cheek. Oh, and he also wanted us to scratch his back for an hour.
Yeah.
But so I'm his grandsons, and there was this Christmas event, and there was this Pepsi channel, and he was acting like the king of Pepsi. And I miss him very much, and I love him. I hope he has a good life in heaven and hell.
Very good.
I want to say something real quick. My name's Robert, and he was my father-in-law. The first time I met Joe is when I was with Megan. I come down from Heston to Salina, meeting her and her family, and he asked me if I was going to an AA meeting. I'm like, Joe, what's an AA meeting? He introduced me to AA along with his daughter, with my wife, and over the years during my addiction years, he would get so mad at me for not doing the right thing, for choosing drugs over my family, but always in the end he still would open his arms. Him and his wife Pat would let me stay at their house with Megan until he fucked up, until we messed up again, and then he'd kick us out, and he let us back in. He never gave up on us, and there toward the end, after all that they've done for us, taking them to doctor's appointments every day, to Salina Regional every day, figuring out something. What made me feel really good is every time I get calls from Pat saying, Rob, he's calling for you. He needs you. He wants your help. He needs your, and just knowing that he could depend on me because I sobered up, always meant the world to me there toward the end. And anytime he needed something, I was out the door, going to him, helping him, figuring stuff out. You know, a lot of times too, I guess everybody has their nicknames. But for a while there, he called me the moron. I tried to explain something, he's like, you moron. So, but, I'm just grateful for everything that he did for me. When he could easily just said, just move along, get out of my way. He accepted me. He was there for my, he was there for me. And so, nothing I could have done could ever repay all he's done for me. But I'm just glad I was there to be there for him and for everybody that needed it. So, thank you guys.
May I say something?
Yeah.
My name is Jan. I'm an alcoholic. Joe met me early on and has lots more years than I do. But one of the things which Joe always mentioned
No, I can't.
when he talked about the promises was that they will come true beyond your wildest dreams. And when I look at Joe's family and see how all of you love him and remember him and he had something special for you, I know that those were his wildest dreams. So it was so lovely to hear. I wish you every blessing and condolence and warmth of heart.
Thank you.
She said yes, you can.
This is one of my beautiful nieces.
She's too shy.
She asked me to read a speech that she put together for her papa. I always knew that one day I would have to speak out about my grandfather's death, but I didn't expect that one day to come so soon. On May 30th, 2025, my sweet grandpa had taken his last breath and spread his wings. My dad came in my room and sat down and told me my grandpa was gone. I didn't want to believe him at all. All I did was cry because I didn't want to believe that he really wasn't there. Many of you know me by Kiana, but my grandpa liked to call me by Weenie. I didn't know how much I would miss that nickname till I walked into his room for the last time and he couldn't talk to me. My grandpa was many people's safe place and many people's supporter. He supported me through every step, whether that was track, wrestling, or baton, or even band. My grandpa knew how to light up a dull room and knew how to make many smile without even having to try. He made many people laugh with his terrible jokes. They all laughed because they felt bad because of how bad the joke was. I'm obviously kidding. My grandpa was my hero and my family's. He had always loved and given his all. We all miss him and miss how he would yell at us for being too loud while he was watching his show, even though the TV was at max volume. And his early happy birthday calls. This is going to be the longest see you later I'll ever have to endure. But how beautiful it is to love someone so much that you'll wait a lifetime to see them again. Papa, you were a bright life in this world, and the best grandpa a girl can ever ask for. And I can't wait to hug you when I get to heaven. Sometimes I feel I took my time with you for granted. Losing someone makes the world quieter, but also makes the moments louder. Those tiny details we never noticed until they were gone. Heaven took you too soon, and I wish I could have had one last talk with you, or one last hug and kiss. You will always be remembered as far as I live. I will hold your honor and memory. It sucks walking into rooms you love most, and you're not there doing what you love. It sucks that I won't ever get to hear you say my name one last time, or tell me how much you love me. I've learned to cherish moments with everyone, because you never know when the last time will be. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. My grandpa always made an impact on everyone he came across, and I am so grateful for the 14 years I got with my grandpa. And for now, Papa, as you've always told me, I love you more. Beautiful.
There was something I wanted to say, and I've been so upset, it's hard for me to talk, but I think most of you know that Joe and Pat adopted a couple of their grandkids, and one day one of my brothers said, why'd you do that? You know, he was already up there in the, 60s. He's adopted, but I wanted to give credit to this woman too, because it just wasn't Joe, it was Pat behind him, and she was the one that took care of him when Joe's working, so that, and I also wanted to say that, 3 years ago, I sent my brother a song by Bette Midler, and it was the wind, you're the wind beneath my wings, and it was about, you're my hero, and you'll always be my hero. And he said it made him cry, so that was good. And that's it.
Chloe said if Linda can, you can. I don't have any good stories. Yeah, I bet you do.
I'm gonna try this, I'm not sure how long I stand here, but it was a hell of a ride with him. Oh, boy. We would have been married 45 years, October 10/10/80. He at least got to reach his 44th birthday in 88. He was quite a guy. You know, there's things that I found out that I didn't even know about since he's been gone. He had quite a secret person, I guess. But maybe he just thought he would protect me, I don't know. I have no idea that it's just been since February of last year I rode this roller coaster, and I'm not a person to reach out, and it's just me. And yeah, we took in the 2 kids, and Micah is 19 now, and Kiana is 14. And I took her in when she was about 6 months, and Micah was about 3. And now they're grown. And I wouldn't have done it any other way, and neither would have Joe. And we also at one point raised Aubrey for a short period, which is the youngest granddaughter. And then having Maya and Kaomi and Skyrim and Storm. Storm was the baby, and he was born in my house. And that's his home. And I miss him. I miss him a lot. I loved him even though he was a shithead. You know, I mean, it was Joe's way or the highway, and that didn't matter. I always asked to do things, and he would always say, watch them, you know, but whatever. But we did a lot together, and he was chairman of conventions.
he was a good man, but he had his moments, you know, we all have our moments. And I just kinda keep to myself in these last few days with my dogs. You know, my dogs and I cry at night, you know, we get to sit there and enjoy each other. And I'm not really a lot of a talker, but, well, I can talk, and I'm very bloody. But, I just couldn't bring myself out. And the dogs and I get along just great. No, and they miss Papa. They miss him because they go to the chair, and they always greeted him at the door, and, you know, and, I can tell by the way they behave, you know, even though, but his presence are there, but I don't know, it's been a hell of a ride and I loved him to death, but I didn't expect it to go so fast either. But, you know, God only knows, and God knows what's best. We'll get through this, you know, I mean, I know I will, but I just gotta pick up and move again, you know, one step at a time. Well, thank you guys for all being here. Seeing Rich from California. And I want you guys to come up and share something because there's a lot of people in here that we're so close to, mostly everybody. Just come up and say a few words because we've kind of taken the ball here. I'll throw the ball out. Anybody can walk forward. It doesn't matter. Thank you.
Richard, an alcoholic. So I'm gonna sit here and absorb this for a second. With Gary here and Megan, Sean, Pat. So I'll start it this way. I don't do this in my whole group, but I know Gary does it. I haven't found it necessary to take a drink since July 3rd, 1990. Through the grace of Alcoholics Anonymous and the best sponsor, Joe Carrico, that we never asked for. I'm the other side of a family that Joe got to raise me too. I just wasn't in any of the pictures. And Joe started being my sponsor on July 9th, 1990. And he was you know, my memories of Joe is just nothing good. He showed up at an H&I panel. He was at the front of the room. He was wearing, as she said, a real nice bracelet on this hand, a real nice watch on this hand. He was dressed to the nines and he had a really nice red truck, and I wondered what he had. and I went up to him and I felt like I was asking a girl to go out with me. I said, you closer? And he said, yes. And so he just scooped me up under his wing and he taught me how to be a member of AA. That's all he did, is taught me how to be a member of AA. He taught me how to sit down and shut up and don't interrupt somebody that might be needing to hear what somebody is saying, because he didn't want me to be the reason that somebody else couldn't get sober. And at the time, Joe was very involved with the Orange County Convention. He was super involved with the Southern California Convention. And he was the speaker taper for two of the meetings. And Pat and Joe used to drag me to West Covina to the Saturday night speaker meeting. And then I would go to the Monday night Bellflower book speaking meeting. Those were the two big meetings in Southern California at the time. And then he would drag me to Bellflower, to the 503 Club at Covina for the Thursday night men stacks. But I got to sit front row next to Joe and listen to all the premier circuit speakers at the time. I didn't know. I had no idea. I heard people. I can't tell you if I heard, but I heard them all. I heard them all. And but real quick, because there's a lot of people here, and I don't want to take up too much time. I'm just so grateful. My heart just goes out to you guys. I'm a nothing in this thing. All I am is a recipient of good guidance and leadership in AA. That's all I am. And but a couple things that I gotta say. I called Joe one time because there was a treatment center at my home group, and they're drinking up all the coffee. And I called Joe. And my big curse in my sobriety is that I would tell Joe everything. I don't have any secrets. So when I called him up and I said, Joe, these newcomers are coming in and they're drinking up all the coffee, and they're not putting anything in the basket. And he says to me, I think they should stop coming, I said. And he said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, kid. My nickname was the Kid. That sounds like a good idea, kid. Now are you ready? And I said, for what? It's none of your goddamn business how much money they're putting in the basket. And if it's your home group, you better be putting $5 in the basket. And if it's not your home group, you better be putting $2 in the basket. Any questions? No, sir. Thank you. Talk to you tomorrow. Everything that I am today. When I did my 5th step on Sean's bunk bed, Sean and Megan's bunk bed in Orange County down in California. And everything that I am today is a result of that man, of what he did for me. Not one thing. The husband that I try to be, the father that I try to be. I'm a grandfather. My grandson's 21 years old now. And everything that I am today is because of that man. I'm so grateful. You guys used to pick me up and just take me, and the only thing I had on me was my life was, you could just take everything I had, and I used to wrap it up into a sheet and throw it to the back of this beat up old truck that I earned out of, I won't say how I earned the truck because there's kids in here. And that was my life. Everything was just in a sheet. And then after I did that 5th step in your bunk bed, and he said something to me that I can't repeat in this room. And the next day, this was on a Sunday, and the next day was a Monday morning, he called me and said, kid, get your nicest stuff on because you're going to go do a panel with me. And I put together, I had to borrow a sweater and a coat. I didn't own a collared shirt. And I remember walking into that panel that Monday night. It was at the 502 Club in Covina. And it was the first time that I sat in a chair, and that was my chair. And it was after I did that 5th step on your bunk bed. And I remember Waterfront Mac, who was my first grand sponsor. Waterfront Mac came up to me and he said, hey, you clean up pretty good, kid. They all call me kid. You clean up pretty good, kid. How's that bath on the inside coming out? I said, it's pretty good. I just got done doing my 5th step. He said, oh, good. Now when we do the 5th step in our step study, you can share. Because you weren't allowed to share on a step unless you did the step. And so, like I said, what an honor it is. I dressed myself today. I didn't have to borrow anything, and it's all color coordinated for Joe. I love that man. I love that man so much, and I just appreciate you guys in Kansas sharing him with me. I appreciate Gary. I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that he knew enough that when his sponsor died, that he asked you to be his sponsor. And then he got me with the same thing. Gary and I were just talking about that. So now I've got these sponsors. Thanks.
What are you gonna say?
Wow. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Hawley, and I am an alcoholic. My last drink was July 1st of 1988. I first met Joe shortly after he moved here, and evidently the acquaintance that Gary had with his sponsor, you know, he said, well, you know, go to that meeting or see this fellow. And you know, I remember seeing Joe, and he had the collar unbuttoned and the chain with the thing on and all the bling. And I'm like, yeah, that is California, isn't it? And, you know, Joe didn't say a lot. I've learned more about Joe today than I had up to this point. You know, I mean, boy, he was a cute baby, wasn't he? And who's Ron? Ron is this character. Which I found very interesting because Chris actually happens to be my middle name also. You know, and what I know mostly about Joe, I heard his story a couple times, and I couldn't, you know, what I could tell you about that is he loved doing that conference in Southern California. You know, because he would always talk about that, and he loved to do service work in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, he liked to show up and just do what we do. I remember the dumb dad jokes. Some of them were so bad they were funny because they were so bad. You know, but you know, it was the things that he did. It was the actions. You know, I just watched him. I just watched him be a good member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, to try to be helpful and I don't know. Gary was talking about putting in more than he took out, and I don't think Gary spent as much time playing poker with him on those retreats because he would leave with a little more than he came with. You know, but that was always fun. Always fun, you know, seeing him there and playing poker. I live in Wamego, so I didn't get to see him that often, you know, but, you know, just being here today, I can see, you know, the ripple effect that he has had on this big, beautiful family of his. And I've seen the ripple effect that he's had throughout AA. And, you know, I'm honored and blessed to have known him and to call him my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Gary, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Gary.
Don't know if I can do this or not, but I'll try. Joe, I'm just one of many. Joe sponsored me for 24 of 29 years. And so I've been around for a little while. And I was 4.5 years sober. It became necessary that I seek a new sponsor. And the reason I knew of Joe is because my first sponsor had Joe as a sponsor for a little while. He complained about him a little bit. And he complained about some of the suggestions and all the reading and the writing, and didn't, you know, think all that was quite necessary. But what I remember is a person that he complained about a bit. And so when it became necessary, and after I did an inventory about, you know, why I had to get a new sponsor, I found Joe in this building right here. And I caught him after the meeting, and I asked him, told him, you know, that I needed a new sponsor, and the reply was, well, what the hell took you so long? And it wasn't a long time frame, I don't remember exactly, maybe a couple months between, but I was without a sponsor for, you know, a couple of months. But yeah, that's the response I got from Joe. And he had a knack of starting a lot of things and leaving you with them. And I didn't want to do any of it, and I loved all of it. We did a lot of different stuff with treatment and corrections. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. And he introduced me to all of it. And that's one of the reasons I'm still here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. And I can't tell you a funny story that I know about Sean. But it's one that I'll always remember. I'll tell him later. I think he knows it already, but and you want some real entertainment? When Joe is at the podium, stuff like that. And get the narrated version. I'll always remember that. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you, everybody. It's time that we close this. We're gonna have food back there. Some magic chef made it all, whatever it is. Anyway, I wanna thank you. Let's close this with the Lord's Prayer. So if you would join us. Our Father,